executive. The Saudi Aramco IPO could be the world's largest ever share sale. It's key to a series of reforms taking place in Saudi Arabia. The chief executive of Saudi Aramco sat down for an interview with Bloomberg's Jonathan Ferro.
I think there is a lot of investor appetite. That's why a lot of the questions and media coverage and what you see in the news is about the IPO and when it will happen. There is a lot of, I think, demand for the listing of Saudi Aramco. Aramco in terms of performance, and the data will show when we go on our roadshow, ultimately, that how our performance and how we are the highest producer, the most efficient, the most reliable. So this is a great company that the data hopefully later on will show our performance.
But when I speak to people, they're not talking about when this will happen. They're now talking about if this will happen, that perhaps the whole IPO just goes into the deep freeze and doesn't happen at all.
Well, there's a lot of work that is still ongoing. The company, the government, did all the paperwork to make it a joint stock company effective January 2018. That's an indication that the IPO is ongoing. The preparation by Saudi Aramco never stopped. We should be, as we always said, ready as a company for listing in the second half of 2018. So we are doing a lot of work to prepare the company for listing. At the same time, there are committees from the government that overlook what we are doing and the preparedness that we are doing to make sure the company is ready for listing.
Do you have a set of accounts audited to UK and US standards already? Is that done?
For the reserves you're talking about?
For the whole company itself?
No, the only requirement for listing is, in terms of auditing, is the reserves. And whatever required by the listing venues, we will be availing all the necessary documents.
So it's not your decision ultimately when this will happen?
No.
But I'm trying to understand when this will happen.
The venue and the timing is the government will decide on that. And don't forget, this is a very complex process. The Aramco size and complexities, something that require time for review. There are a lot of venues to list in, other than the kingdom for sure. So there is a lot of work that is ongoing to evaluate all of that and decide on the timing and the venue.
As you go through this process, what have you learned about the company that you didn't know? And I guess for many people, what has changed in the, let's say, year and a half that you've had to prepare the company for IPO? What has changed with Saudi Aramco? Is the company any different?
Well, we have always, for others that know us very well, always worked like an international oil company. The way we do our business, the way we conduct our reviews, our balance sheets, financial statements, and all of that. Like any international oil company, we benchmark with others in the various categories, from cost to environment to safety to technology. So all of these things we do like others. I think what we are excited about the listing for one reason is that it will bring a lot of visibility to our performance. We will be able to share the data that we know, that our shareholder is aware of, in terms of benchmark, as I said, in all the categories I highlighted earlier. So I think it brings a lot of excitement. We have good performance, good data. We are not only the lowest cost, the highest reliability, and even if you look at carbon footprint for each barrel we produce, we have the lowest intensity, as highlighted in the latest article on the Energy Nature that shows the different crudes being sent or imported by China. Saudi crude have the lowest carbon intensity, and that's a reflection not only of the quality of the reservoirs that we have, also the technologies, the reservoir management, the standards applied to produce the crude.
You understand there's a narrative around Saudi Aramco that because it's a state-owned oil producer, it must be a wasteful company, that you don't have the cost discipline of, say, Exxon, Shell, BP. Are you saying otherwise, that the story is not what it seems to a lot of people?
Well, I think the story and the data and the numbers will be shared. When the listing happens, we have a roadshow. We have a prospectus that's being prepared. And the roadshow, we will share all of the data. Investors will be asking for all of the data you mentioned.
Do you think they'll be surprised?
let me say that I'm sure they, based on what we hear in the news about the numbers, how much it costs us and all of that, we think we are doing much better than what is on the news. We know our performance, we have the facts, we will share it. There is no wasteful of anything. Actually, they will find out this is a well-run company in terms of, as I said, not only on cost, on safety, in an environment, and in technology.
Because some people would have a look at your production numbers and compare it to the CapEx spend and decide that maybe the CapEx spend is quite a lot considering this is meant to be a cheap barrel of oil. Can you explain that, try and reconcile the two things?
Well, our capital need to be compared to other companies in terms of also our size. We are a 12 million barrel. Our maximum sustained capacity is 12 million barrels. We produce in raw gas, our capacity in raw gas about 15.5 billion standard cubic feet per day. We have huge program in petrochemicals with a lot of investment in the kingdom and out of kingdom. We have a lot of JVs. Our participated refining capacity today is 5 million barrels per day. So, and we are in a growth mood. Basically, we are, if you look at our gas, we are looking at doubling our gas compared to 2015 numbers, reaching almost 23 billion standard cubic feet per day of gas capacity. If you look at our refining capacity, we're looking at going to 8 to 10 million barrels per day. Petrochemical, we're looking at 2 to 3 folds expansions in our petrochemical sector. So this is a company all about also growth opportunities in the right sectors. So if you look at our capitals, you should not compare it to other companies that have producing 2 million or 3 million barrels per day. You need to put into account what is our capacity.
Yeah.
This is the 12 million barrels, 15.5 billion. We have almost a huge petrochemical capacity globally right now, especially with our Sadara, with Dow Petrochemical completed, and our joint venture second phase with Sumitomo and Petroraba also on production. So huge capacity, and we do have huge investment, as I said, in different sectors.
You recognise you will be benchmarked in terms of your return profile to other companies.
Of course.
You said you'll be competitive.
Of course.
Shell, as far as I know, haven't cut their dividends since World War II, and the dividend yield right now is about 6%.
Yeah.
Can you be competitive with that?
Well, you know, we will be, as I said, in terms of dividend and in terms of rate of return, I think that all will be shared up front in terms of with the investors when we go on our roadshow. And the performance of the company, as I said, in terms of the cost per barrel, how much it costs us to produce the barrel, how much it costs us to produce the 1 million BTU of gas. As I said, it is the lowest in the industry.
Can we be competitive with Shell?
I don't want to.
In terms of the return profile?
We will be competing with the best, for sure. We will be competing with the best.